Cooper.
Dominic Cooper,
Yeah.
who does like, man, if you imagine what Robert Downey's Jr.'s dad would have been, and of course, okay, his dad was actually Robert Downey Sr.,
Yeah.
who was a movie director, but forget about him.
Go with this. Go with this.
Go with the Robert Downey Jr., Tony Stark, what his dad would be like. This guy nails it.
Yeah, he totally does. And everything else inside.
Well, there is that too.
Which he is Tony Stark's dad. Come on. But, he's there showing off his flying car, and he's got all these scientists and everything with him. And one of the scientists, played by, oh, God damn it, I don't have
come on, you can do it. He's every woman.
Stanley Tucci.
Yeah, and every gay man's best friend.
Yeah. Sorry, I don't know.
He's the gay best friend in every movie.
Who is a German scientist, but one of those good Germans.
Yes.
Overhears Bucky and Steve Rogers talking to each other. Steve's like, look, I don't care. I want to fight. This means everything to me. And he goes, look, we got to talk. Come back here. I'll hook you up. So he brings him to a training program for what they call the super soldier program, which is where they're going to load up somebody with all these drugs and make them into the ultimate human.
Right. So basically, he's Professor Erskine, Erskine. They pronounce it both ways.
I had an Erskine jacket one time. It was so comfortable.
I know, wasn't it? Right?
Yeah, I tell you.
So Erskine basically is nice to him so he can make him a guinea pig to test the super soldier serum on.
Yeah, I know there is a very different way of looking at the story where, like, it didn't work. And he's this horrible freak.
Well, kid, look, you were never going to make it before.
Yeah. But, fortunately, it does indeed. He's picked for the program despite the protestations of Tommy Lee Jones playing the grizzled captain. Oh, you're the 90-pound. He walks around doing that a lot.
But the thing is, Steve has heart.
He has heart.
And heart will take you much further than muscles.
Unless you live in the real world.
Yes.
But fortunately, this is comic books. So they put him in this machine. He gets bulked up and becomes he becomes Chris Evans. And suddenly there's explosions because the Nazis are there. There's a big chase scene. And from there on, it's pretty much a series of big chase scenes as Captain America, for initially, they don't know what to do with him, really.
Well, yeah, because it's not just chase scenes. I mean, Erskine is killed, so their whole program is gone. Like, what was supposed to be an army of super soldiers is just the one guy.
Just the one guy. They don't know what to do with him, so they decide, you know what, you're going to be in propaganda, which was big then.
But that was the thing. He's like, oh, great, now I can fight. They're like, no, we only got one of you, and we can't do anything with that.
So the way the movie, and I don't want to go too much into this because it was such a pleasure discovering the ways and means the way that they really sell the audience on this, but suffice it to say, the process in which they sort of take you between the point where he first becomes, bulked up, and when he actually gets to fight is when they convince you that this guy can wear a Captain America outfit and be Captain America in a very unconventional, surprising, and really entertaining fashion.
Well, it's entertaining, and as much as it's entertaining, it's actually like a very realistic element of the film.
Yeah.
Because you go like, you know what? Had this happened, this is totally a way this might have gone.
Yeah.
And they really sell you on him becoming Captain America, the man, but also the reason for the uniform, the reason for the name. Everything you thought was silly, it's like, no, you watch it like, goddamn, y'all nailed it. The beauty of this film is that something that goes on with the Marvel films, and I don't know if anybody really recognizes it, is that what makes them work is that they have their characters that are mostly based in some kind of reality. They have a lot of great humor, and I mean, like whoever they get to do punch-ups on their scripts, really knows what they're doing.
Totally great at not letting it overwhelm the story, but just knowing right when it needs a joke.
Exactly. I mean, you look at Iron Man, certainly like the first Iron Man and Thor and Captain America, they all have that going. But there's also a lot of heart, and each one of them has like a little something else. Like it's a different type of film, not just a superhero film. It's like what I've always said about superhero films. It's like they're a genre, but it shouldn't be just about the superhero. I mean, I think what Green Lantern's failing is that it's just about him becoming the Green Lantern and fighting the Corps, and that's it.
Patterned on top of another type of story, which it should be. There's no humanity inside of that story.
I mean, what you have pretty much a war film. It's got elements of some Frank Capra films.
And a war film, not just a war film, but a team on a mission film.
Yeah, team on a mission film. Exactly. I mean, like when it gets to that, it's pretty exciting.
Yeah, and they do a hell of a good job with it. I mean, so people who read the comics back then were probably super pleased to see all these familiar, the guys who later somehow become Shield agents 70 years later. I don't know
how
they're still alive, but the Howling Commandos are the team that Captain America fought with in World War II, and they got this great group of people to be playing these roles. I mean, most notably, of course, is that Dum Dum Dugan is Neil McDonough, who is just terrific, and I think he had to have been wearing a lot of padding under his suit.
I think so, because that guy is usually pretty cut and bulky.
Right, but yeah, I mean. He's bulkier than
he's bulky
and Derek Luke. Now
is Derek Luke playing a young Nick Fury?
No, he's playing Gabe Jones.
Okay.
Anyway, there's a whole team of these guys. I don't have all the names right in front of me right now. Kenneth Choi. It's a solid team of guys who you're like, oh, it's that guy and it's that guy.
Yeah.
And it's great because it's watching Captain America, who is not a scene stealer at all when it comes to war. He is a team player.
Totally.
And I think that's one of the things that most impressed me about once shit gets real, That seems awkward coming out of my mouth, doesn't it?
Yeah, it does. Don't do that again.
Sorry.
Hurt my ears. But it is one of these things where, you know what? I really, I fell in love with this film as it kept going. I thought when it started, it's good. It's good. And for a lot of it was good. But somewhere halfway through, I started thinking, you know what? It's moving into being great.
Yeah.
It's giving me surprises. The action scenes are getting better.
Yeah.
And then it has an ending that's actually emotionally powerful.
Yeah, totally.
Which was one of the big surprises of the whole thing. Was just like, wow, I did not expect it to sock me in the jaw like that.
Well, at least the ending we got to see because.
Oh, that's right.
Yeah. Like the first Iron Man, they decided not to show press the special post-credit scene, despite the entire audience sitting there waiting for it. What is that about?
You know what? And what's bad is it was like somebody had a bootleg of it online, and Grant kept trying to show me. I was like, Grant, no, I don't want to see it like that. I want to see it in the theater. And it was like, wah, wah.
Now Grant's like, it's not there anymore.
But yeah, you know what? The only two things I ended up just being meh about with the movie was the Red Skull's makeup.
Really? Because I liked it a lot.
You know what? What it was is when they first show it, I thought it looked fantastic. It's just later in the film, as I looked at it, I was like, it looks so much better before.
I don't know. I didn't think it was too garish at all. In fact, one of the things that most impressed me wasn't even the makeup in and of itself, but that Hugo Weaving, who I was really afraid was just going to be Hugo Weaving as a bad guy again.
Just kind of Mr. Anderson-ing it all over the place.
Once he's just in the makeup, because at first he's wearing he's got a fake Hugo Weaving mask over his Red Skull.
And really, if you could get a mask, would you pick Hugo Weaving's face?
Right. Where's the Brad Pitt mask? But I was like, okay, you would never guess that was Hugo Weaving once he takes off the mask and it's just the Red Skull. He's doing a great job. I thought he did a great job, but he doesn't play it too crazy.
No, he doesn't.
And he doesn't play it too down either. It's just right. He's a Nazi, but not a ridiculously Nazi.
He's a little underwritten, but then there's so much going on.
There's a lot going on. And this is Captain America's movie, not the Red Skull's
That's true.
movie.
And that, you know what, that's because somebody was complaining about him being undeveloped. I'm like, I can kind of see that, but what we get way too often is that the villain will take over the hero's movie.
No, true.
And that didn't happen at all this time.
It felt like maybe that was one of the reasons he was playing it as down as he was that he realized that that this is an actor that probably could have outshined Chris Evans without too much trouble. And not that Chris Evans is bad, but come on, it's Hugo Weaving. He's fucking a powerful presence.
That is the thing, because I think Chris Evans is a really good actor. Once I saw him in Sunshine, I was like, wow, I have respect for this guy.
I think he's a really good actor too, but he doesn't.
But he's not Hugo Weaving.
He doesn't have that almost a force push of character that Hugo Weaving has the moment he says anything.
Yeah.
But no, I really liked him in this. I did have a couple problems with this. Like I said, one of my problems was the transitions between the acts. I thought it was a little bit awkward. I thought that I didn't like the way that they dealt with the Bucky Barnes storyline, and Bucky is such an essential part of Captain's story, and it's clear why they did the thing that they do that wraps up his story in the film. Because in the comics it leads more obviously to what ends up happening in the comics.
Well, yeah, but also think about the fact that in the comics Bucky's like a teenage sidekick like Robin.
No, I know. I don't want it to be exact. I like the fact they made him older. I did like that. I just thought it would have been better if his character had continued on all the way to the final battle. It would have made that final battle seem that much more dramatic.
Yeah, you're right. I mean, it could have. To me, that's a lateral move.
And and it's a nitpick on my part, and I completely acknowledge that.
Hey, well, hey, if you can do that,
because I didn't really have as a movie, it didn't bother me per se. I don't know. There's points that it's almost too self-aware that it is a image. It's a movie about propaganda that in and of itself feels like propaganda from that time.
I know what you're saying. Yeah. I blame a lot of that on Alan Silvestri's soundtrack.
Yeah, I agree with you too.
Because there's like moments where he does the
so much bombast.
Yes, yeah. And it like there's like the first time he does it, I'm like, okay, that's kind of cute, but he keeps doing it. It's like, dude, knock it off.
It's too much of it, and it takes away in a pretty severe way the impact of these people as real characters on any level. Like the score keeps wanting to remind you, and to a certain level, Joe Johnston, just the way he films it, that none of this is real. These are just comic book characters. You know, it bugged me because it didn't have to be that way, and I didn't feel like it should have been that way. I mean, the angle they were heading for, like the idea of like, yes, this is an old school adventure film, World War II, crossed with Raiders of the Lost Ark type adventure, and very much believe it or not, a lot of Raiders of the Lost Ark is injected into this thing at various odd points where you wouldn't expect it. But it's too much sometimes, and I think it takes away from the overall effect. Apparently it didn't for a lot of people, but then again it did for a lot too. They were kind of taken back from it.